Thank you for tuning in to TalkWad.com, the world's fastest growing internet radio network. Please check out all the other great shows on www.talkwad.com.
Hi there, and welcome to Right at 5. I'm your host, Mona Lisa, and my guest today is Swea. She is an incredible lady. I'm so glad to bring her to you. Hello, how are you today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Swea is actually a St. Petersburg, Florida native, born and bred. You don't often meet people nowadays that are from Florida. It's like I moved to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I had Swea send me her bio, and I read through it, and I thought, well, let me pick out pieces here and there and kind of throw them out there. And then I thought, I can't even remotely impact the listeners the way you can with sharing your bio. So tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Well, I grew up in the project, so I'm a little ghetto. I like my rap music and, So grew up in the projects, and that was tough, listening to gunshots every night and things like that. Right in Bethel Heights. I know a lot of people are familiar with Bethel Heights. It's now Orange Grove. And when I was about 8, we moved out of the project, so that was good. I have a very strong testimony. When I was very young, I was at the age of 5. My brother molested me. And it really caused me to have a lot of stress and feel like maybe I shouldn't be here anymore. I used to get bullied as a child when I was 8. And I remember one girl wanted to fight me. I don't know why. I don't know. I didn't say anything mean to her or anything, but she wanted to fight me. I was a little intimidated. And so I remember at 8 years old looking into the medicine cabinet and trying to find medication to take so I can kill myself. And it wasn't because the girl was bullying me. It was because I was molested as a child. But to me, the only thing I focused on was I'm getting bullied. She's going to beat me up, And I went to school the next day, and her finger got caught in the door. So she
karma.
So that might have been God. I don't know. That might karma, whatever you want to call it. And ever since then, she stopped messing with me. She left me alone. And so I grew up a little bit. Turned 16. No traumas in between the age of 5 and 16. But when I did turn 16, my mom remarried, and I was living with my stepdad. He physically abused all of us. My mom had 7 kids. He physically abused all of us. I remember standing in the line to get whoopings with 3x4s, belts, or whatever he could grab. And I remember standing in the lines. But for a long time, I thought I didn't get abused. But when I became an adult, I said, wait a minute. I was in the line. Right. So what I discovered is I blocked it out. Because I remember him holding up the 3x4 about to whoop me and my brother one day. But I don't remember the whooping. So God blocked it from my memory. But even though I went through all of this trauma, I wanted to be somebody. I found theater. I found writing that I can do well. And so I started focusing my energy into that. And one thing I want to tell you before I forget, life is 1% what happens to you and 99% how you react to it. Statistically, I should be in jail. I should be on drugs. Statistically, I should not have a college degree, but I do. And the reason I do is because I turned that negative energy into positivity. And I became a published author. I got my BA degree in psychology. And another thing that that happened to me on the road to my success, my brother that molested me when I was young, he was only about 23 years old. He killed himself. They had him on medication. I think he had bipolar. We're not really sure. They had him on medication, but when he did take it, he was like a zombie. So he didn't like that. So he got off the medicine. And I remember his room being messed up, and that's one sign of a person being about to commit suicide. But he didn't want to live anymore. But all throughout his life, he was trying to kill himself.
Right.
So many times. I can't even count on my fingers the many times he tried, swallowing pills or, but this time he had a gun and he killed himself. This was so traumatic to my family and me. It was so traumatic. So when I turned 28 and I had my first breakdown, I was calling his name. And the only way I know I was calling his name is because my fiance told me I was calling his name.
Right.
I blocked that out. So a lot of trauma has happened to me. And for a long time, I felt, I have a BA degree in psychology. I'm beautiful. I don't have a mental illness. There's nothing wrong with me. So when I got Baker acted, the psychiatrist set me down, and they looked me in my eye, and they said, "You have paranoid schizophrenia." And I was like, no way possible. I'm normal, and normal people don't get mental illnesses. So I was stereotyping the disorder. But for a long time, I would not take medication, and I was hospitalized a total of 6 times because of that. My family took a picture of me at my worst, and that's when I knew I needed help. And I'm going to show you. This is how I look without medication. Bring this. This is without medication. And when I saw that picture, I felt like this is what I see in those textbooks. This is what the professors were teaching us. This is what mental illness looked like. But what I really would like with psychology, I would like the books to show a person that's recovered from mental illness and how they look. Because I didn't see that in the books. I just saw people that had mental illness in the books.
Well, and unfortunately, when it comes to that, anything that's a negative, it seems, when you overcome the negative and it becomes a positive and you become a productive, healthy part of society, even though society is a little kind of skewed right now, that's something you don't see. You don't see, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I'm a survivor of rape. You don't see that in the textbooks. You see the person that's broken down and destroyed from those things. And I think it's really important for people like you to, express the journey you went on and the fact that you're on the other side. And that's kind of a term that I've been using a lot lately because I'm arriving there now as well. There is the other side. And, you writing about your journey through this, and, I've been reading the book. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but, like every chance I got in between everything I was doing, I picked it up and read it. And the book, by the way, is called Don't Call Me Crazy, I'm Just in Love. Yeah, so check out the book. And as I was reading it, I was like, wow, you are a hero as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
You are a heroine.
Thank you.
You have overcome an incredible thing. And I think that, like you mentioned, when you saw the picture, the big part for you was accepting, understanding, realizing, and then doing something about it. So what was writing the book like?
Well, I wanted to, for one thing, I knew writing was therapeutic. I learned that in school. So that's one reason why I wrote it. I was getting all kind of revelations. Take baby steps. It's so many different. You're gonna be a billionaire. It's, and I don't know if it was coming from God. I don't know if it was coming from my spirit guide. I don't know if it was coming from an angel, my past brother. But I was getting so many revelations, and I wanted to put that in the book. I wanted to help other people. So writing a book, it was very easy. I remember I was getting my tires changed, and I sat down and had a pen in my hand and paper. And I just started writing. It was flowing. I was just writing and writing and writing. And then I would get to the keyboard and I would write and write and write. And I would stop for a few years because I'm a type of writer that writes based on experience.
Right.
Except for my one book that's coming out. It's Horror on 22nd Street. I don't know where I get that from. But anyway.
22nd on the south side?
Yeah, where I live. I don't know where I get that story from. But so in writing the book, I did stop for a few years because I didn't have material. But then I was hospitalized again. I had a relapse because I wasn't taking the medicine. So I had more material.
Right.
So I was able to finish the book. And I have a cousin, Maurice, say, make sure you finish that book. I said, okay, I'm going to finish it.
Right. So while you went into these episodes and got hospitalized, were you cognizant enough when you came out that you could recall and write down the things that were happening to you?
Yes, about 90% of what I went through, I remember. And it's probably 10% that God blocked out because it was just too severe for me to see.
Right.
So a very large percent. And right now, my book is required reading at SPC College. And the reason for that is because I was able to write down what it happened to me and write it in a book.
Right.
And so when psychology professors read the book, they can have it as a required reading because it'll show you exactly what a person with paranoid schizophrenia will go through, the thoughts they will have, what they will be doing, their behavior. It shows all of that, and that's why it's a required reading, and also a required reading for writing and reading, because there's so many different subjects I touch up on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Abuse, mental illness, marijuana, drugs, God. I talk about so many things in this book. Sometimes I read it. I've read my book over and over again about maybe after it was published about 10 times. It's so good.
It is.
I mean, it's so good. And when I'm reading the book, I'm thinking, wait a minute, did I write that? Did I write this book?
Right.
So a lot of this came from God. It wasn't from me.
Yeah. I know when I was going through and reading it, I was on the journey with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, and I kept thinking to myself, how did she do this? She wrote this. It's candid. It's truthful. It's honest. It's truly, to me, it's a miracle that you could pull this off.
Oh, yeah.
And there was definitely, I believe, some kind of divine
inspiration
going on there.
And let me tell you, for those people that have ever been Bakerized, have ever went to a psychiatric ward for mental illness, let me tell you something. Some of what you're going through is from God. I'm going to tell you that right now, because I studied parapsychology for 10 years. And after I got hospitalized, I wanted to know, okay, were the visions that I saw, was some of that from God, or was that just completely mental illness? And I started reading Sylvia Brown, and I would read her words, and then I would think back to the vision I saw, and it was described the same way. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So basically the writing for you was just like it came to you and you just started to write. So it was a lot of free writing.
Yeah. I didn't have a table of contents. I didn't know what was going to come next. I didn't know what the characters were going to say. I just started writing. Amazing.
That to me, I've talked to guests about this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main things I always ask is, what is your process? Because, some have a very ritualistic process.
Mm-hmm.
Some just, napkins, toilet paper, whatever they can get their hands on at the moment. There's so many different things that writers do to get their words out there. And, like you, I'm kind of like something's going on and bam, there it is. It's hard. I'm not conditioned to say every day I'm going to sit down and write 2,000 words. Because if nothing's there, it's going to be the same word over and over again.
That's right.
Going through an experience like the experience you went through and having the wherewithal to say, I'm going to write this down because it's a lot more difficult, 20 years go by and you go, I should really write a book about that experience.
Right.
And try to educate and help people and teach. And you're now reaching back going, wait a minute, what happened again?
Yeah.
Writing in the moment to me is the most powerful, form of literature out there because it is in the moment, which is, my love is poetry and I write my experiences in poetic form.
Wow.
So everything that's happened to me from a very young age, up to now is something that's in a poem and it's very candid and it's very true. And a lot of that I did reach back because it was that graphic and real to me still at this moment in time. But it's fading. I'm getting a little bit older.
Yeah,
now.
we all do.
So I'm kind of digging back going, let me see. How did that go again? So it's amazing when you have, and especially a moment, in a schizophrenic moment, to have in your mind to go, okay, this has to
be on paper.
That's miraculous to me. I mean, there is definitely something reached down and said, okay, this needs to happen.
That's right.
And I highly recommend to the listeners to purchase this book because it's an eye opener. I really didn't have a clear idea of what it was like to be in this mindset. And reading it, I was like, you survived this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's big.
Oh, yeah.
You're meant to be here. You have a purpose.
Oh, yeah. Humongous.
So, right?
And I knew that when I was writing the book, I knew that the medication that I was taking, my body would accept it and I would be a different person after the medication. I knew, so I wanted to write as much of it as possible before the medication got into my system.
Right.
Because I knew I would be a different writer.
Right.
And that's one thing that I did.
Where can people get the book?
They could get the book. Right now you can. It's Don't Call Me Crazy. I'm Just in Love. Right now, if you go to Amazon, I do have an ebook on sale, 75% off for the ebook, and so that's only $5.99 if you go to Amazon.com right now. But you can get it. You can also, if you're around in the area of St. Petersburg, you can get it from Reader's Choice Books and Gift Store, and that's at 3951 34th Street South in St. Petersburg, Florida. So you can also get the books from that bookstore.
Okay, excellent. So tell me about, tell me some more about the book.
Okay. And also in the book, it's a romance, but it's also a little bit of a self-help book. I put power techniques, how you can avoid arguments. Like, for an example, as a person with mental illness, I used to argue all the time, and like, for an example, someone would say something about me and I would take it to heart and I'll be upset for 3 days. I would be stressed out, upset. I know a lot of people went through this. I know. I would be upset for 3 days. Oh, they're calling me this. So I read power books and I put the information in my book. And like one power technique is when someone makes a judgment call about you and they don't know you, 9 times out of 10, they're talking about themselves or someone very close to them. And you don't say anything. You just let them keep talking and talking. Don't interrupt because people don't like silence. So let them keep talking. and eventually they'll tell you that they're talking about themselves. And just recently, I had someone do it to me. It was a preacher, and he said, "Oh, you need therapy." And so I ain't say anything. I let him keep talking. At the end of his sentence, he said, "Oh, I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb." I said, "No, you need cognitive therapy." And another power technique that I put in the book to avoid arguments. When I used to get into arguments, I would cut the person off, and then I would misinterpret what they're saying. So I learned that you allow the person to complete their full sentence, give a little silence, and then begin to speak, because people will tell you what they mean. But if you interrupt them, you might think that they're talking about something totally different, and then you get into that argument, you know? So,
the assumption is there.
Yeah. So it's so many power techniques that you can learn that can really help you make a full recovery, along with medication. And I never got counseling. I tried, but I guess I ain't need it. But I did try. But some people do need counseling. Some people, because they went through a very traumatic event, and they don't know how to overcome their depression or whatever they're going through. So they need counseling. Right. And some people need medication. Not everybody needs medication. And also, along with power techniques, you can really make a full recovery from mental illness. And that's what I have. I've made a full recovery.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so tell me about the Harvard thing.
Oh, yeah. I was so amazed. Let me tell you, I was texting everybody. I was emailing everybody, calling everybody. On my Facebook, a young student from Harvard texted me, and I hope he's listening right now. And he said, "Oh, my professor read one of your articles to my class, my professor of Harvard." And I just, what? Are you serious? Wait a minute. Harvard University? A professor read one of my articles? And I was just like, I was so amazed. So I was calling everybody and letting everybody know. And, the higher up people get in their fulfillment of their goals, the more nicer they are. Because when I contact Harvard University, I spoke to the receptionist, and she was so nice. She gave me the website I can go to find all the professors, and she say, "Oh, your book, it doesn't have to be just for psychology; it can be for other subjects too." And I'm like, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, it is for reading and writing." And she's giving me a list of all these professors, that I can contact, But the funny thing, I try to contact Hillsborough Community College. Now, this is a 2-year college. My book is required reading for a 4-year college, but this is a 2-year college. I contacted the college, and one of the ladies was so nasty. She say, "Oh, get a publisher," and hung up on me.
Oh, see.
I mean, you see, and some people, just because they're a part of something great, they think they're better than everybody else.
Right.
So my advice to those type of people is humble yourself.
Absolutely.
You're not God. Humble yourself.
Yes.
And if you can humble yourself, you'll start clicking with other people that are humble and that are in way higher, levels of achievement than you are,
There's a lot of miserable people out there.
Oh, yeah.
And they let you know it.
Oh, yeah.
They let you know that they're miserable. And it's like, if you just take a second and take a breath and think about how to approach somebody, because I've dealt for years with anger issues. I pop off really fast. And when something frustrates me, my first thought was always to go in with like, rah, the iron fist, I'm going to scare somebody into submission so they back down and undo what they're, And I'm learning as time goes by, and I'm getting older, and I'm calming down a lot, that it's when I get on the phone and I'm like, "Hi, how are you today?" And, I just have a little problem. Maybe they can't help but reciprocate that way, and it's like, "Oh, well, I'm so sorry," and I'll do, and, you kind of sometimes have to accept the answer, "I'm sorry, there's really nothing I can do." Sometimes you just have to say, "Oh, okay, thank you so much." And that's hard for me, because like, what do you mean you can't do something? Get on it, And I when it comes to institutions of higher learning, I have found that the gatekeepers the receptionists,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
secretaries for certain. It's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
You're either going to get the ones that are so nice and so helpful, or you get the ones that go, and you are,
Yeah.
because I am,
That's
and it's like, oh, honey, but you're just, there's someone above you and someone
That's
above
right.
him and her, and
That's right.
and so, like you said, humble yourself, step down, and realize that somebody out there is trying to do something good.
That's right.
And, you writing this book and getting it out there, and your motivational speaking, and you're doing something good for society and for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's no reason to be crappy to people.
There's a lot of crabs in a bucket. I did an article on crabs in a bucket for with the Weekly Challenger, and there's a lot of crabs in the bucket. I love my city. I'm born and raised in St. Petersburg. I love my city, but I'm gonna tell the truth.
Yeah.
The truth needs to be told. There's a lot of crabs in the bucket in St. Petersburg.
Yes,
it's worse than Tampa. And people see you're advancing, you're moving up the ladder. And they see you, they want to pull you down.
See, now I am so glad you said that. And the worst ones are artists. And tearing each other down. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I'm watching it. I watch it. It's like there's enough room for everybody. And the last, 4 guests that I've talked to since the beginning of the show have all made comments about that.
Yeah.
They're like, it's like we need to support each other because the government's not going to do it, and
that's right.
and organizations aren't going to do it. The funding for the arts has been cut and cut and cut and cut, and it continues to be cut. It's taken out of schools, and so it's like we're all we have for each other.
Right.
And if we don't support each other through this process, whether it be a musician, a painter, a writer, an actress, whatever, if we don't support each other and do for each other, it's going to go away eventually.
True. That is so true. I'm glad you're saying that. People really need to hear this. And that made me think about my friend, Rashida Strober. She has a play called A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge. She saw me do a presentation at the Pinellas County Urban League. And she read my book, and she was so excited. She contacted me, and she's been helping me along with marketing. As a team, we've been working together, and that's one reason why my book is a required reading at SBC College now. Is partly because of her.
Right.
So I'm telling you, if you just get out of that mindset of being a crab, and you start connecting with people out there, networking, helping each other out. Don't worry about competition when you're, on a smaller level.
Right.
Don't focus on that. Of course, if two people has a romance book and they're exactly it's about the exact same thing, that might be competition. You might not want to pair with that person. But like when I was at the Tampa Black Theater Festival, I was sitting alongside a young woman that wrote a romance book, but it was a little different from mine.
Right.
She sold so many copies, and I sold so many copies. We're just helping each other. So, you don't think about it as a competition. If it's a conflict of interest, yes, okay, I understand that because I learned that in business school. You have to watch out for your competition. So I understand that.
Right.
But if it's not a competition, oh man, you glue together and network. And I mean, you can become so successful. I'm telling you, you can make so much. There's so much money out there to make.
I know.
And in my book and what I teach is, what I learned from business school, less than 1% of Americans' households makes $100,000 or more.
Right.
I want to be in that 1%.
Right. Right.
And once you start gluing with other people and you move up the ladder together, I'm telling you, there's no stopping you.
And that's, I'm all about whoever's at the top of the ladder needs to pull everyone up behind them.
That is so true.
And as opposed to kicking their hands so they fall off the ladder.
Yeah.
It's, and I do see a lot of competition, and I do see a lot of, when someone is succeeding, suddenly this element arises, and it's like, well, why is that person and why am I not?
There you go.
And it's like, and I moved to St. Pete 2 years ago. I lived in Palm Harbor for about 15, 16 years.
Oh, wow.
And I moved down to St. Pete because I wanted to be close to the artistic community, and I wanted to be able to go to the open mics and connect with everybody. And, and in the beginning, it was a very beautiful thing. And I remember when when I started doing it, there were really powerful role models and really amazing people like Alicia Harris and Venus Jones and Reggie Eldridge. And I mean, these people were a backbone and a foundation for the up and coming.
That's true.
And I came into that when they were there. And so I kind of adapted to what they were doing as I was coming up. And now I find it's like the up and coming are just about themselves. You know, and it's not all of them. I mean, there's some people out there, you know, that are just phenomenally talented and about causes like Liz Prisley and Dennis Lemmerman and Bryant. You know, I mean, there's so many people out there now. I'm sitting back and watching them and going, they're climbing fast and they're climbing hard. And they're taking people with them and they're supporting people along the way. And that's the way it should be.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and like you said, when you get people out there that are like, oh, well, you know, well, how come you're and I'm not? And it's like, well, let's pair together and let me help you.
There you go.
If it's not working for you.
There you go.
You know, and so you're going out and speaking about these things is, you know, it's important.
Oh,
it's a necessary thing. And, you know, I told you when you came in here, I'm like, I don't have a format for this show and I don't interview like, hi there, my name is, and your name is, and what did you do yesterday? And, you know, what it's all about, this is an hour about SWIA and what you are doing, because somebody out there is going to hear you and connect with you and contact you and say, hey, I'm at this place, or I'm in this experience that you were in, and what can you tell me, and how can you help me? And, you know, to me, that's a phenomenally incredible sensation and feeling and a sense of empowerment.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, when I was reading through the book, I was like, I'm so excited that I get to meet her, and I'm so excited that I get to speak with her, and we now have a connection, and that connection is going to grow and flourish in many directions, which is going to reach out to others and reach out to others, the whole kind of pay it forward thing.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I'm telling you guys, you need to get this book. Because it's powerful. It really is powerful. So tell me about the other book.
Oh, the horror on 22nd Street.
The horror on 22nd Street.
You're not gonna let me. You let me go there. Well, I haven't finished this. I have about 14,000 words, and I grew up on near 22nd. Well, first, are you living in St. Petersburg?
I live downtown, right by Mirror Lake, by the old high school.
In St. Petersburg?
Downtown,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And I work at Wildwood.
Oh, good. That's where I live.
28th and...
Oh, wow. Okay, well, wonderful. Well, there's a street, 22nd Street, and it used to be clubs there. I think it's Manhattan Casino, and it was really popping and doing well long time ago, and now it's just, prostitutes walk down the street, and, people sell drugs, and, and it's like a horror, so I just said, let me write a book, horror on 22nd Street, but the book has nothing to do with the 22nd Street being, but in the book there's a woman that hates men, and the girl that's doing the killing, her mother got hit by a train because she was trying to run for her baby's daddy that was leaving her with the baby. I don't know why I wrote this book, but anyway, so she gets hit by a train, and her daughter is now deformed because the daughter got hit a little bit. So the daughter grows up hating men, so she kills off all the men in the neighborhood. So you'll hear about that one day. Horror on 22nd Street. You'll hear about it one day. But I do have another book that's coming up in about 6 months. It's called Don't Call Me Crazy, the sequel. So and a lot of people say, oh, I don't like it. I don't like the way the book ends. Why there's an end there? I'm telling you, it's for a purpose. When you read the second book, you'll understand fully why it ended. So I want readers to know it's more coming. I'm not gonna.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna just leave you there
hanging like that.
Because people ask me, oh, what happened to Mosley? What happened to Anika? People want to know. And Don't Call Me Crazy, the sequel, you will know.
Okay, that's good because I'm like, what? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like the biggest lessons I've learned from studying psychology and going through the trauma that I've gone through. We have to get to the point where we can change ourselves. Let me tell you, when you start working on yourself, you just skyrocket.
Absolutely.
I mean, God did tell me to take baby steps, but I've been taking major steps. But let me tell you, every day I'm looking within. Oh God, how can I make myself a better person? And I'm from the project, so I'll curse you out in a second. So I'm trying to work right now. That's what I'm trying to work on. Somebody make me upset. Not to go off and curse them out.
Right.
And I was doing good for about 4 months, and I had to curse somebody out. I was like, oh no.
Start over.
But I'm telling you, you work on yourself and you become a beautiful person, and people see it. Like when people meet me, they say, "Oh, you're such a beautiful person." I say, "Thank you." People see it. They when you start talking, they can feel it. The energy that you give off is beautiful. I'm telling you.
Do they tell you there's a glow?
No, I never heard that.
Yeah, there's a glow. You have the glow.
One of my friends say I'm getting. Looks like I'm getting lighter. But that might be the glow that you're talking about. I don't know, but I'm telling you, start working on you, because a lot of people say you can't move up until you change yourself. And you can't get help until you realize you have a problem. But I'm telling you, and never try to change somebody else. Yeah. I learned that also. Don't try to change. The best thing to do when you talk to them and they tell you what's going on in their life, ask questions. This is very important. Ask questions and be silent. Really listen to what they're
the
telling.
Answers of the questions. Yeah.
Because see, a lot of people, we are so smart. We can figure out our own problems. We just need somebody to listen to us and guide us to the solution.
Right.
So I don't even know if therapists do this or not. I don't even know. They probably do. But it's something I got from God. So when someone comes to you with a problem, usually the first thing people do is, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to leave him alone, you need to, don't do that. When someone comes to you with their problems, just stop, listen, let them talk, and ask questions. So when you ask questions, that gets them thinking, well, maybe I can do this differently, maybe I can do that differently. I just got so much to give. I have so much knowledge. That's why I wrote the book. I got so much. I had so much knowledge I wanted to give to the world, and I had to write it down on paper. Man.
And I'll tell you that's profound.
Mm-hmm.
That's when there are people that write,
mm-hmm.
and then there are writers.
Oh yeah.
And you're a writer.
Oh, thank you.
When, somebody sits down and takes their heart and soul
mm-hmm.
and pours it out onto the page,
mm-hmm.
despite what people are going to think,
and
what people are going to say, and
mm-hmm.
the judgments that are going to come,
mm-hmm.
and you still do it, it's like, psh, whatever.
Let me show this picture again. This is, let me see. This is me. Let me tell you something. I do not care what people think. And this is the level that you have to get to in life. If you want to become a billionaire, you want to become a millionaire, you have to get to the point where you do not care what people think about you. You do not care. Because if you start worrying about what they think, you're going to do different things. You're not going to move in the way God wants you to move.
Right.
I don't care. I want to end the stigma on mental illness. So the best way to do that is by sharing my story and by getting other people to share their stories. We got to start talking. That's how we're going to rid the stigma. We have to start talking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's, it's like that with a lot of things that are going on
mm-hmm.
in the world right now. I'm like the Caped Crusader
mm-hmm.
against domestic violence.
Oh, yeah.
And I have, like I told you before we started, I've written
mm-hmm.
7 poetry books.
Oh, wow.
And they're all about that subject.
Wow.
And it's my life.
Mm.
And I have had people that have contacted me and said, well, don't you think it's about time you wrote about something else? Don't you get tired about writing about the same thing all the time? And don't you think? And I'm thinking to myself, is it gone yet?
No, it's
Is
not.
domestic violence over?
No.
So until it is, I'm going to write about it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
Until
right.
rape culture doesn't exist anymore, I'm going to write those poems that make you squirm in your pants.
That's
You don't
right.
like it. You're uncomfortable.
That's
You
right.
don't like what I say. You don't like how it makes you feel. Good.
That's right.
That means I'm doing something right.
That's right.
And right now, mental illness in this country is, when these tragedies and these horrible things happen, like the school shootings and the shooting in the theater during the Batman movie.
Oh.
When these things happen, that's when people rise and go, oh, well, he was crazy. That's the first thing everybody says.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's a loose term,
Yeah.
first of all. And second of all, his mother knew there were issues and she couldn't get help for him. So what does that tell you? It's not, we are a society that looks down upon mental illness and negates the seriousness of it and how much we need organizations and facilities. And don't, it's not like someone comes in your office, put them on a pill. Find out what's going on.
That's right.
Talk, listen, like you said, and and then if you figure out the best plan for that individual. But we don't have enough resources in this country, but we can send drones and bombs and build,
What about that?
right?
That's
We
right.
got plenty of money for that,
That's
but we
right.
can't take care of our people. We don't have enough, we don't have medical care. We don't have facilities for,
Speak on
and
it.
so that's where, when you say you don't care what people think, you're going to tell your story.
That's right.
And that is what it's going to take, is for everybody to stand and
That's
tell
right.
their story.
Woo! Yes.
Right?
That's right.
Right? That's right.
right.
That's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's when we're told that we need to crawl into a hole, shut up, don't talk about it, don't deal. No. And that's
right.
what we've been doing as a
Oh, yeah.
as a species.
That's right.
Sticking our head in a hole and going, well, yeah, it sucks for you, but that's
right.
not my life. Well, you
That's
can
right.
get your ass whipped by your husband any day
That's
of the
right.
week too, and not know it was coming.
That's right.
You know what
You're
I'm
right.
saying? So I'm in full agreement with you that it's a necessary thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes an unbelievable amount of strength and intestinal fortitude to stand up and tell your story.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are the haters and there are the judgers, and if you're afraid of them and what they think, it's going to shut you down.
That's it. That's right. You're afraid of what they're going to say, that you're not going to move.
Exactly.
You're going to just, be paralyzed, But it's all about saving lives.
Right.
That's why I wrote my book, to save lives, to change lives, to better lives. That's it. And a lot of times people see the title, Don't Call Me Crazy, and the first thing they think, oh, romance book. I don't want to read that. A romance book. No, it's beyond that.
No.
I mean, if you only knew the knowledge that I have, okay, I remember one guy, this was like 6 years ago, before my book came out, and he was interviewing me. And I was talking about keys to success, the revelations I got from God. And he was just disagreeing with me on air. Oh, no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with this. Okay, now, 6 years later, this guy finally buys my book. That is amazing. So now that he sees I'm in the newspapers, I'm on the radio, I'm getting attention, I'm making money. Now he feels like, oh, now you're successful. No, I was successful when I finished the book and got it published by a publisher.
Right.
I was successful then. Tell you.
Oh, did you go on his?
He doesn't have a show. He has a radio show, but not a TV show. He does have, and I was on his show. He was sitting there. And he was listening to me talk on the show.
Right.
So yes, he did.
See, and you know how that goes when someone sits back and goes, "Well, no, no, don't stutter, don't stammer."
That's right.
And yeah, I like a lot. I love this idea of you were successful when you finished the book.
That's right.
And for people, it was kind of strange when I first started doing the open mics and doing the poetry and everything. I was just, I didn't feel that I was a good performer. And I wasn't good at memorizing my poetry, and so when I went up with my book that I published, I'd read out of my book, and when I would get introduced to be like, oh, here's Mona Lisa who's written 47 books, and haha, it was kind of like this ongoing joke about she's written all these books, and I'm like, and they were very proud of me for accomplishing this, and I was proud of me for accomplishing this, but on the same hand, it was like, I felt like I was coming to it differently because I wasn't, reciting from memory, or I didn't have the same, I had a lot of that self-doubt. And despite the fact that, I was like 6 books into it, and people are like, what's wrong with you? Really? Think about it. You've published 6 books. Who does that? And one of them I wrote in 15 hours because I was on a dedeline, and I screwed around. And
oh, wow.
It's just like, whoops, I got to have a book ready by a.m.,
Oh, wow.
So I really kind of negated myself and my abilities, and I never really sat down and said, I published this. I'm successful. I'm successful now because I finished it, because I published it. I never really
said that.
And so you just gave me a gift, because now I can sit down and think about it and go, I was successful when I published my first book.
Oh, yeah. And now all you have to do is tell everybody that you're successful. And that's what I'm doing now. I've made it. I'm just telling you I made it. I'm making money. I don't care what nobody says. I'm making money. I made it.
And that's, man, is that's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I have arrived.
That's right.
Y'all just need to catch up.
That's right.
That's where we're at now.
Yeah.
So you told me before we went on the air, you were telling me that you are a screenwriter, and immediately I was like, okay, we've got that connection too. So tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I have about 3 directors so far. One in Texas, one in Atlanta, one in Tampa. I have about 3 directors that's interested in my screenplay that I've written. But they don't have the budget that I want.
Right.
So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until I get someone that has the right budget.
Right.
Because I know what this book is worth.
Yes. I
knew when I was sick and I was in the hospital, God was telling me this is going to be a movie. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have a car. I don't have a book. I don't have a TV show. I don't have anything. What do you mean this is going to be a movie? I'm gonna play in a movie. What are you talking about? So I have a director that's already interested, and I won't say that I'm a screenwriter, because I only wrote one screenplay.
That makes you a screenwriter.
Well, yeah. But if I had to, if the only thing I had to do was screenwrite, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
My main talents are writing books and speaking, my motivational speaking that I do, and the choreography I'm a dancer too. So, those things I really love, but so screenwriting, I'll do it for this book, but other than that, I ain't gonna do it. You can have that job. It takes, what? It's funny that you even mentioned that. I'm reading a book now. I can't think of the name of the book, but it teaches you how to write a successful screenplay. It's
not Save the Cat, is it?
No.
Okay.
I think it's like Alan. I think Alan something. His name was Alan or something. I can't think. He was on this one of the shows here, and I bought his book, and I was like, wow, because I had already written the screenplay before I bought his book.
Right.
So now I'm at work. I'm like, wait a minute. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Like I can't just write it, and then say here's my screenplay. I gotta build the characters up, and and so I'm in the process of editing and rewriting my screenplay based on what I'm learning from this book.
Well, I can help you with that because that's what my master's degree is in.
Oh, wow.
I've written about 7 or 8 screenplays.
Oh, wow, that is good.
I love writing screenplays.
Oh, wonderful.
It's of course I have the software that formats it all for me, so it's just I'm plugging it in.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely I wrote a novel a while back. I've never promoted my novel. and
Wow.
I don't know. I don't
What's
know.
the name of it? What's the name of it?
Silent Retribution.
Oh wow! And what is it about? I want to hear this.
It's actually a psychological thriller,
Oh wow!
and the characters are all extreme.
Oh wow!
And there are a few chapters in there that are pretty graphic.
Mm-hmm.
And when I sent it to a publisher, I've had 3 publishers that have wanted to publish it
Wow!
and turned it down because I refused to take out a specific chapter,
Oh wow!
as in the last chapter.
Oh
And I'm like, no, without that, that's
wow!
really kind of the culmination and the climax of the story. So that's not going to work.
Wow!
And with what I've, things I've read and movies I've seen and
Mhm.
television shows and, Dexter and Breaking Bad and stuff, I'm thinking my book's mild compared to what I'm seeing. But
That's right.
the subject matter is, it is graphic. It's a woman who's a psychologist, actually a prison psychiatrist.
Oh wow!
And decides to seek vengeance on a death row inmate for
wow.
murdering his child, sexually abusing and
man.
murdering his child.
Oh no!
It's and it's actually interesting. My
Mhm.
professor, that mentor, just an
Mhm.
amazing person, Ned Johnson, who teaches at St. Pete College Tarpon campus,
Mhm.
who was my professor for, I don't know, 3-4 classes.
Mhm.
He actually is teaching a fiction writing class and a lit class, and one of the choices they have is to purchase my book.
Oh wow!
And so a few students took that option in another class and read it and wrote it. I got a 4-page review
Oh wow!
on my book, and she just went into intricate detail
Oh,
about what she
wow.
and I was like, wow, I wrote that book, but
Yeah.
I've never promoted it. I've never gone
Wow.
out and I've sold 1 copy personally and the rest a couple to,
Oh, start
and now I'm
promoting it.
thinking,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
I'm listening to you and I'm like, I
Yeah.
need to do something.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
wrote a screenplay for it,
Oh
It was the first
wow!
screenplay I ever wrote. I
Wow.
adapted it. And I just thought, well, the publishers don't want it, so
Yeah.
I can't do anything with it. And now I'm thinking, wait a minute.
Oh no!
Wait a minute.
Let me tell you. I'm glad you said that. Let's see if we got time. I'm really glad you said that because first, for 7 years I was with Publish America. I did a few speaking engagements, made a little money here and there. But then the colleges started wanting the book, so now I'm self-publishing. Don't call me crazy. I'm just in love. I'm not with a publisher. Do you realize the difference in money I'm about to
yes,
make?
yes.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yes, I do.
I am going, and for those authors that want to become a self-published author, what you need to do is find a distributor, and you can. There's the best one that people keep telling me to go with is Lightning Source. Have you heard of Lightning Source?
I published through Lulu.
Lulu. Okay, I've heard about Lulu too.
Yeah.
But see, with Lightning Source, they get about 25% of your profits. There's another one, Bookmasters, but I'm just not. They have a lot of fees, so I haven't.
We'll talk about that
we'll
after
talk about
because
that.
I with Lulu,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you set the price of your book.
Yeah.
And it's print on demand.
Hmm.
Unless you decide you want to order a certain number of copies for a book signing or whatever. I just put
Mhm.
out, my book just came out a couple days ago. I got
Mhm.
the preview copy and I've now opened it for purchase. But yeah, I'll talk to you after the show
Good,
about
good.
how that works with Lulu. Self-publishing to me, and I was just having this conversation earlier. It's like, to me, self-publishing is I have full and total control over everything.
That's right.
And when I sell my books, I paid whatever I paid to get the book printed, and the rest of the profit goes to me.
Right.
And I up it just a little bit more because I want to contribute a certain percentage of the profits to like a battered women's shelter or something. So it gives me the ability to give back as well. And none of my books have ISBNs.
Oh, you can get them.
Oh no.
Oh, why not? Why not?
Child, please, you gotta pay taxes.
Oh.
I'm kidding. I haven't been in a position to do it. And with
Oh.
Lulu, they give you, you get a serial number and everything. It's just
Oh.
not an ISBN. The ISBN allows you to go into bookstores and,
Mhm.
Amazon and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I have to work a lot harder to get it out there.
Yeah, think about that. Think
But
about the getting the
it's-
ISBN.
yeah.
Because I do.
Yeah.
For my book, I do have an ISBN. I did buy an ISBN. And I do see it being in major stores. So yeah, definitely.
And they do have, I can't remember the name of the website. I wrote it down somewhere where they sell 5 ISBNs for $250. You know which one I'm talking about?
The only place that for those authors out there, the only place you want to go to get your ISBN is isbn.org. That's the only place.
.org.
Because
Okay.
you have to own your ISBN. Nobody else can't. So if you like pay $100 for some company to give you the ISBN, those major distributors will not pick you up. You have to have your own ISBN.
How much do you pay for an ISBN?
It's,
what do they run now?
It was about $275 for 10 ISBNs.
Okay, it's for 10. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that isbn.org.
Yes,
I'm going to have
for
to
those
check
writers.
that out because I definitely need to do that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've got 8 books, so I might as
yeah.
well get 10.
Oh yeah,
It's time,
That's
it's
right.
time to go
Here
to
we
the
go.
next level.
Here we go. Yeah.
So, it's been amazing having you on the show, and I'm so excited about meeting you.
Thank
And
you.
I really feel that we have a connection.
Oh, yeah.
And when the horror book comes out, you need to be back on here, because now every time I go to work, I work with kids on the South Side, but every time I go to work now, I'm gonna go horror on 22nd
Street.
on the South Side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is your what's your web address?
You can go to mentalhealthbook.org, and you can see my biography and read a little bit more about me. And for those that like ebooks, you can go to Amazon.com and get the ebook. Just type in "Don't Call Me Crazy." And for those that are local, you can go to the bookstore, Reader's Choice Books and Gifts at 3951 34th Street South in St. Petersburg. It's inside the Value Fair Market. So those are the ways you can get my book.
And Swia is also on Facebook.
Yes, on Facebook. Please find me on Facebook.
Just type in SWIYYAH and boom,
That's
she
right.
pops up.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. And I wanted to say one more thing. It just left me. Maybe I'll remember later. Oh, I'm also a motivational speaker. So please, if there's professionals listening, if there's people that have churches, ministers listening, you can give me a call at 727-776-0291. And I'd love to come to your organization to give a speech.
and I will definitely also have some connections for you
Good,
as
good.
far as maybe we can get you into some of the schools, some
Oh,
of the
yeah.
high schools.
Oh yeah, we're doing workshops right now. As a matter of fact, how to change the world in several high schools throughout Pinellas County. So that's
Okay.
one thing I'm doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you are out there changing the world.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what you gotta
And
do.
just in case somebody doesn't tell you, you are glowing.
Oh, thank you.
And you are motivator and you are inspirational. I'm affected. I'm touched by being in your presence, and it's totally been an amazing experience. Nolan told me that was going to be the case.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, "Oh, you're going to love me." Yeah, you get a
Yeah.
hold of her, and
Let me tell you.
so we're definitely going to have you back
Definitely.
a few more times, because there's definitely a lot to talk about, and we're at the 2-minute mark.
Yeah. And I just want to say one thing before we go. Any dream is possible. That's all I want to say.
Oh man, wow.
That's all I want to say. Any dream is possible. Do you realize if we can use more than 10% of our brains, what we'll be doing right now?
Oh, I know. I have
come
that
on.
argument all the time, right? It's like
Yeah.
all that empty space in there we're
Wow.
not using. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Mhm.
and I just want to throw it out there. I just published, like I said, my 7th poetry book, and it is titled "Rejecting 18 Square Feet." And I have a link on my Facebook page, They Call Me the Angry Poet Facebook page, and the Write at 5 Facebook page. Or you can go to, actually it's not on my website yet, so I'm not even going to throw that out there. But yeah, support your local artists,
Oh, yeah.
support your local artists, support your local artists.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
we have each other, and that's all we have.
That's
So
right.
again, thank you, Swia, for
You're
being on the
welcome.
show. And thanks everybody for listening to Write at 5. And have a good one.